Hi, boys and girls. Today in reading, we're going to be learning how to do the skill ask and answer questions. We'll be practicing this skill with various stories and various activities. Why am I teaching you this concept? Because we're always curious, we're always asking questions, and we always want to know the answers to something. So it's very important that we learn how to ask and answer questions. It's very important for us to learn how to go and find the answer, and it's very important for us to understand the different types of questions. Okay, so today we're going to be learning what it means to ask and answer questions. We're also going to learn what a thin question is versus a thick question, and we're going to be also learning about very important question words to let us know that we're asking a question. Okay, and of course, when we ask questions, it ends with a question mark. That is one way we know that we are asking a question, because it has a question mark. And what I just drew was a couple of question marks to show you what they look like. Okay, so when we ask a question, we always end with the correct punctuation mark, which is a question mark. Okay, why do we ask questions? Well, we ask questions to help us understand. If we don't ask questions, no one will know that we don't understand something, and no one will know that we don't know how to do something. So in order for us to get the help we need, we must ask the proper types of questions. Okay, so for example, if I want to make a birthday cake for someone, I don't know how to make a birthday cake. So if I volunteer to make a birthday cake, well, I have to let someone know that I don't know how to make the birthday cake, so that way they can show me. So I got to ask them, how do I make a birthday cake? Okay. We ask questions when we're reading. We ask questions before. So what does that mean? Today we're going to be reading the story Henny Penny. But before we read it, I'm going to show you the illustrations. We're going to study the cover of this illustration. Okay. And as we study this cover of the illustration, our brain is going to start spinning, and it's going to start throwing out questions in our minds for us to throw out of our mouths. So Ms. Bahar's going to ask you, what questions do you see when you see this cover of this story? Okay. Then we'll go through the book and we'll look at the pictures. Before we read anything, we're going to see what questions we come up with. Okay. And then hopefully as we read this story, those questions that we threw out, those questions that we were asking, hopefully, as we read this story, we will find the answers to those questions, okay? Question words. You know you're asking a question, or you know someone's asking a question when you hear these words at the beginning. Who? Like, who is it? Who did that? Who are you? Who told you can go there? Who told you can have that? What? What is that? What time are we going? What did you say? What did you want me to do? When? That means time. When are we going? When are we going to be there? When will it begin? Where? Where is it at? Where do we need to go? Where are we going to be at tomorrow? Why? You all know what why is, because you love to ask that question, why? Why is what you always ask for. Why do I got to go to bed early? Why do I got to eat my vegetables? Why can I stay up late? Why can I have this toy? Why did you do that? All the time. So that's your favorite. Most kids' first question word was why. And then, of course, how. How do you do that? How do you make that? How do you get there from here? How do we learn to do that? Those are all question words. So let's recite the question words. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay? Now, there's difference between the types of questions you ask. There's two types of questions when we ask them. We got the thin questions. Those are our easy questions. Those are, I can answer right there. What's your name? That's very easy. I don't have to think about it. I know my name. I can ask the question, okay? I can find, what's the title of the book? I don't have to go searching because it is on the cover of the book, Henny Penny. All right? I don't have to think about it. It's right there. So your then questions are easy to find. They always begin with who. Who was supposed to help Henny? Who made the cake? Who spilled the juice on the carpet? Who forgot to close the refrigerator? Who forgot their homework at school? Very simple. Those are usually like one-word answers or just a sentence answer. What? So easy to find questions begin with who, what, where, and how many. How many toys do you have? How many pencils do you have? 5. That's it. There's no thinking about it, okay? Or they're one word or one answer. Can I come over your house? It's just a yes or no. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to research. It's either yes or no. So that's what we call a then question. And again, I got it right here also, yes and no questions. As second graders, we want to try to stay away from then questions, okay? Those are easy. We're too smart for asking then questions. We're too smart to answer then questions, okay? We want to be smarter than the first graders. We want to be smarter than the third graders. So we got to challenge our brain to think of harder questions. Because if we play a game, I want to win. I don't want to play a game where I give them all these easy questions and then everybody else win and then I lose. Miss Barr does not like losing, okay? So it's a thumbs down for then questions. You know, sometimes we'll ask then questions just to get an idea, but we're going to try to stay away from one-word answers. We're going to try to stay away from yes and no answers. We're going to try to stay away from anything that is it's going to give me an answer of one sentence or one word, okay? So I'm not saying we can never use who, what, where, and how many questions. We're just not going to use them all the time, okay? Even with our activities that we're going to be doing today, we're not going to use them all the time. We're going to try to think of stronger questions. And those stronger types of questions are called thick questions, okay? What are thick questions? Thick questions are harder to answer. These are the ones that begin with a why. Why are we going this route? Well, we have to go this route because of this. We got to give an explanation, or we got to go back in the story and find out what the why was, okay? How come? That's another why question, okay? I wonder. You got to use the evidence in the story, and you may make an assumption, and you may say, I wonder what would happen if I did this. So it's like a trial and error, okay? What do they mean is another kind of question that requires an explanation. What will happen types of questions also requires an explanation. All these words, why, how come, I wonder, what do they mean, what will happen questions are all questions that causes your brain to think. Are all questions that sometimes you may have to go back in the story. Oh, I don't remember that answer. I may have to read a couple of pages to find that answer, okay? It's not going to jump out right there at me, all right? These are thick questions, need to use the evidence. What is evidence? Well, that is information. Information in that story. You need to go back. Well, I think Henny Penny was very agitated or very angry because she was screaming at the top of her lungs. Her face was red. And how do I know that? I went back in the story and I found those words. I found where it said that her face turned red. I found those words where it says she was screaming at the top of her lungs, okay? That's what they mean by evidence. They want you to go back in the story and find what they're talking about, okay? So, need to use the evidence or information in the story to help you answer, okay? It's more than one answer to the question. So that means it can't be a yes or no question. It's going to be more elaborate. You're going to have to explain it. You're going to have to explain your why. You're going to have to explain your how. You're going to have to explain when and where they were at, okay? A little bit more detail in thick questions. Now, thick questions are tricky to come up with on your own. They're tricky to answer on your own. But that's why we're doing this skill. We're starting this. This is our first lesson we're starting off in ELA because we're going to learn about it. And every day we're going to practice it every single day. Even when we're not doing the ask and answer questions. We may be doing something else to read, but guess what? We will always come back to ask and answer questions. Because guess what? We always ask ourselves questions before we read it. That means before we open up a book. During the reading, maybe I'm in a book. How many of us have been reading something and your brain just starts asking a question? Why did Johnny wear a pail on his head? That's what my mind is thinking. Why? I see a picture of somebody wearing a pail. Don't know if his name is Johnny, but I'm just assuming. I just want to know why that person is wearing a pail or a pot on their head. That's a question I'm asking as I'm reading it because I'm looking at the pictures and the words have probably also told me that as well, okay? And then after, even though I read the book, I may understood it, but guess what? Most of the time, I still have questions afterwards, okay? And that's okay. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But most of the time, you have at least one question afterwards. All right? So we're going to practice that skill. All right? So this is what we're going to do. The first thing that we're going to do, I want you to look at the story or the title. Henny Penny. Okay? By H. Werner Zimmerman. I'm going to flip through the pages. I want you to write down at least 1 to 2 questions that you may have when just looking at the pictures. What questions do you have? I'm kind of cut some pictures off because I don't want you looking at the words yet. What questions come to your mind? Remember, write down 2 questions you have. Once we look at, don't write your questions down yet. I want you just to look at the story. Study the pictures very carefully. What are some questions that are coming to your mind with just looking at the pictures? Try to come up with at least 2 questions. All right. Now, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to set the timer. And write down at least 2 questions, okay? If you can't think of 2 right now, because I know this is new, try to give me at least 1 question. Timer has begun now. Now remember, when you're thinking about your questions, our question words are who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who, what, when, where, why, and how are our question words. Make sure you don't use them all in one question. Pick one of those question words, write out your question, add a question mark at the end of your question. Try to come up with 2, okay? We have about 45 seconds left. In this video. 5 seconds left. All right, time is up. Now what I'm going to do is I am about to read the story, okay? Hopefully, as I read the story, your answer to your question will come up, okay? After I read the story, what you're going to do is you're going to go into Seesaw and you're going to find the activity titled Henny Penny, okay? And then it will be a link, hopefully that'll work, that you can reread the story again. For this assignment, you are going to write down 2 questions and you are going to use the story to answer those 2 questions, okay? So again, for your reading activity today in Seesaw, you're going to find the story, the activity titled Henny Penny. You are going to listen to the story again if you need to. After you listen to the story, or before you listen to the story, you're going to write down 2 questions you have before reading the story, okay? After you read the story, answer your questions. You may go back in the story to help you find your answer. So here it goes. I'm about to read the story to you, okay? Henny Penny by H. Warner Zimmerman. One day, Henny Penny was eating corn in the farmyard when whack! An acorn fell on her head. "Oh my," said Henny Penny. "The sky is falling, the sky is falling. I must go tell the king." I wonder why did she think the sky was falling? So she went along and she went along and she went along until she met Cocky Locky. "Hello, Henny Penny," said Cocky Locky. "Where are you going?" "The sky is falling and I must go tell the king," said Henny Penny. "Oh my, I go with you. Oh, may I go with you?" said Cocky Locky. "Certainly," said Henny Penny. So they went along and they went along and they went along until they met Ducky Lucky. "Hello, Henny Penny and Cocky Locky," said Ducky Lucky. "Where are you going?" "The sky is falling and we must go and tell the king," said Henny Penny and Cocky Locky. "Oh my, oh may I go with you?" asked Ducky Lucky. "Certainly," said Henny Penny and Cocky Locky. So they went along and they went along and they went along until they met Goosey Lucy. "Hello, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey," said Goosey Lucy. "Where are you going?" "The sky is falling and we must go and tell the king," said Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, and Ducky Lucky. "Oh, may I go with you?" asked Goosey Lucy. "Certainly," said Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, and Ducky Lucky. So they went along and they went along and they went along until they met Turkey Lurkey. "Hello, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy," said Turkey Lurkey. "Where are you going?" "The sky is falling and we must go and tell the king," said Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey Lucy. "Oh, may I go with you?" asked Turkey Lurkey. "Certainly," said Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey Lucy. So they went along and they went along and they went along until they met Foxy Loxy. "Greetings, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, and Turkey Lurkey," said Foxy Loxy. "Where are you going?" "The sky is falling and we must go and tell the king," said Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, and Turkey Lurkey. "You'll never get there in time," said Foxy Loxy. "Come with me and I'll show you the shortcut." "Certainly," said Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, and Turkey Lurkey. And they followed Foxy Loxy right into his cave. Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, and Turkey Lurkey were never seen again. And no one ever told the king the sky was falling. The end. So, did you guys enjoy that story? I did. And as I read that story, I came up with a couple of questions, especially toward the end when they met Foxy Loxy. I wonder will we have the same questions. Now, I want you to think of 2 questions that came to your mind as you read this story. Once you have your 2 questions, go into Seesaw, write out your 2 questions, and then listen to the story again and see if you can find the answers to your own questions, okay? See if you can find, and then answer those questions as well, okay? So once again, you're going to go into Seesaw, find the activity titled Henny Penny. You're going to ask 2 questions. You're going to type out 2 questions you have, whether it was before reading, during reading, or after we read it. I just need 2 questions, okay? Then listen to the story again or read the story again and see if you can find the answers to your questions. Once you find your answers to your questions, write them down. Okay? Happy reading.